On a motherfucking Tuesday, girls got me drunk. They got me freaking around and got me pumped up. I'm getting excited and I can't hide it. Cause I'm losing my mind. Mind, 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 mind. Hi, 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 hi. I should have got a drink. I didn't get a drink. Fuck. It's still early in the thing. Might as well go get a drink real quick. What's up, gaming bros? Hope you're doing well. Ugh. Hi, how are you? What's going on? Hope everything's fine. Just waiting for a few people to pop in. What's up, tight sad? Hope everyone's doing good. Hope everyone's doing fine. Yep. What's up, Lightning? 8:30. Yeah, okay, you're East Coast like I am. We got about 6 viewers. We'll start in just a minute. We're primarily going to talk about Sony stuff. Yeah, about to say, we're East Coast. We're East Coast boys. Most of us are East Coast boys. I'm doing pretty good. Hope you're doing well, Lightning. Let's see. Just waiting for everybody to show up. TapSat never sleeps. It's weird. Even when it's time. Yeah, it's 8:30. What's up, Red Dragon? But TapSat always pops in for a second. You might start investing in Sony this year. Why this year? I feel like if you're gonna get a PlayStation 4, you should have been got it. I do play PC games, and I have a PC to run those games. I've just been very distracted with Switch because if you haven't noticed, Switch has been dominating like a motherfucker this year. So that's 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Okay. So, what's up, Yuki? So, this is primarily going to be about PlayStation because we do have a state of play announced for like 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. And there's been a lot of rumors of PlayStation 5 stuff. Oh, the stocks. That's what you meant. We'll see. I don't know if I would do I don't know if I would do that. That's just a personal opinion, though. Also, what's up, Jamon Smith? I don't know if I said hey. So I'm at work, and sometimes it makes me stay up all night. Oh, wow. That explains a lot, because you usually show up for, like, the majority of my streams, even though my time is never convenient for you. I think it's only convenient for you sometimes if I stream in a certain way. The only special on Steam I saw that I was kind of interested in was the Batman one, because the Arkham, I've been looking at a lot of Arkham Knight gameplay recently, and I'm kind of like, that's the only Arkham series game I have not played. Um, and part of it was because I didn't think the game was going to be good. And look at the game. The game isn't good. Isn't as good as the other ones, I would say. But I feel like part of me wants to just play it for the sake of like finishing out a saga. So that's the only one I kind of want to get is the Batman Arkham ones. That and I wouldn't mind playing Batman Arkham City again on PC at max settings because I can do that. But anyways, so the purpose of this video anyway. Let's see, I might have to visit PlayStation 5. We'll see. So what we're actually going to talk about that. So let's talk about the state of play, right? I don't think they've confirmed. Have they confirmed how long it's supposed to be? Let's look. I'm just checking. It's 20 minutes. Okay, it's 20 minutes. Now, see you later, gaming bros. I mean, yeah, we'll talk about Surf Edge. I mean, I usually do these for an hour. So it's not like the whole hour is going to be. Arkham Origin I played. It was buggy as hell, but I did play and beat it. Although all the Arkham games I have on PS3. I never bought any of the Arkham games on PS4. So I have Batman Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Origins all on PlayStation 4. I mean on PlayStation 3. But yeah, we'll talk about Surf Edge. So alright. I've been distracted now. So anyway, so state of play is supposed to be 20 minutes. It's at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday. And there's a lot of talk and rumors going into the PlayStation 5 and what we're going to get. We've already heard about demos about how retroactive, for one, it'll be backwards compatible with PlayStation 4 games, which might make it really appealing to buy on launch purely for that reason. Also, because it would not surprise me if in the future they were to get rid of that as an option, because they did that with the PlayStation 3. Granted, I think that depends on whether or not how well the PlayStation 5 sells at launch. I've been playing, like I have Tomb Raider 2013, I have Tomb Raider, I have Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is what I'm currently playing, and then I have Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which I have not started. I already own all three of those games, Lightning. On Steam, I mean. Anywho, so we already know the PlayStation 5 is going to be backwards compatible. I guess one of the major questions that's been going on is whether or not we're going to hear any news of it. Also, we don't know about any real games coming out. Because the state of play, if we're talking about like old games we've already known about that need to get more footage shown, the only two this year is Death Stranding, which was just shown off a lot at Tokyo Game Show, and then the Medieval remake, which I believe comes out next month, which has had like barely any footage shown of it, which is really jarring for a game that comes out next month. We've only seen it, and we saw it, I think, was it the last state of play? I think it was the last state of play it was shown, and then we literally have not seen it otherwise. Oh no, I haven't played the old Tomb Raiders. No, I don't have the old Tomb Raiders. But yeah, so I guess also there's been rumors that the PlayStation 5 is going to have two versions, which I guess is supposed to mirror like the Xbox One and the Xbox One X, except I don't know what the difference is supposed to be between these two versions. Let's see if I can find that rumor real quick, because I don't understand like what's the difference. Is one just more 4K than the other? Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense to me. Let's see. So, okay. So the PlayStation 4 Pro, PlayStation 5 Pro would cost more. And it will launch at the same time. So it literally just seems like it's going to be a more powerful version of the PlayStation 5. which I don't know if that's inherently smart to put out at the beginning of a generation, to have a PlayStation 4, I mean a PlayStation 5 and then a PlayStation 5 Pro. I mean, like with a phone, like what Apple and Samsung and all the other phone manufacturers do, it kind of works a little bit better there because it means as much. But like, if I could play PlayStation, but like a Pro for a game console, I don't know makes much sense because they're both going to be hampered by the same bottleneck eventually. It'll just take the 5 Pro a little longer to get there. And it also depends. The thing is, it's going to be another. It's kind of be like the Xbox One X situation, where the Xbox One X came out and it was a powerful fucking machine, but there was barely any content to take advantage of it. This was the issue with 4K for the longest time, and 4K still kind of has this problem, where 4K wasn't properly supported on most media formats. Like, they weren't coming out with that many 4K movies and television shows and streaming. So, like, why would you need a 4K TV unless you just were trying to be ahead of the curve? It's almost the same situation with the 5 Pro. Like, or the Xbox One X. It's like, if there's not enough gaming content coming out here that's rocking this, I guess this wouldn't even be 4K. We're talking like 8K and some shit. And I'm kind of like, I get it. I understand what Sony's trying to do. They're trying to be ahead of the curve from jump. But like, why would you pay for it, I guess? Like, if it's supposed to be $100 to $150 more, and that all depends on what the PlayStation 5 is going to be at launch. Because the rumor is somewhere around like $500 is where I'm leaning. Because I think, isn't the Xbox One X, when that came out, that was $500? If I remember correctly. I don't even know how much can you get it for right now. I'm just curious. Because it's been so long. The Xbox One X has only been out for what? 2 years? Maybe? Yeah, I like Domino's Pizza. Right now, the Xbox One X you can get somewhere between. Yeah, it came out. It's almost been 2 years. If I wanted to buy one, it's like what, 300 and something? Right? Why did it not link into what I wanted it to? Fine, I'll actually go through Amazon and look for it. I don't see the point of having a Pro available at release. So right now, you can buy an Xbox One X for around $400. It looks like 300 and. Wait, are they selling it still? I can't even find one that's like normal. They got all these bundle versions. This console actually has a very widely varying price structure. It seems to hang somewhere between like $350 and $400 and $400 and something. Do I think they'll? Oh, are you talking about the? Are you talking about the censorship policies, Lightning? Or are you talking about something specific? Yeah. Also, I agree. There's no point in putting VR in there. VR, I know they're gonna push further and further as the generations move forward. Oh, someone actually put the 6 years between PS4, PS2. 6 years between the PS2 and PS3. 7 years between the PS3 and PS4. 7 years between the PS4 and PS5. And also, what's up, Kuro Blitz? Why does that name sound familiar to me? Knowing me, I know like your channel or something. But whoops. Why did I do that? I was trying to go to YouTube, god damn it. This is very all over the place. Which Nintendo Switch? I mean, I feel like VR is still in like its infancy stages, and the main thing is if it's gonna catch on or not. And I don't know if it's gonna fucking catch on. Oh, you do Pokemon content. Cool. Okay. Anywho's, where the hell am I? There we go. If you're talking about censorship, I doubt it. As long as PlayStation is the platform leader and they're not losing any money, they don't give a fuck about Japan. If anything, I imagine them to move further and further away from Japan as the PS5 generation starts, because they have no reason right now to change their mind. There had to be, like, the way Nintendo learned was the fact that they got punished on top of the fact that they were losing money. That was the reason why Nintendo changed its policies. But, like, Sony has been the market leader this entire generation. I think this is like the first, maybe second year where PlayStation wasn't on top the whole year. And that's partially because the Nintendo Switch is a new console, and like B, this is going into the latter years of the PlayStation 4, because people are like, man, the PlayStation 4 is coming out, PlayStation's still coming out with bangers, and I'm like, yeah, because the launch was pretty weak. Like, it's almost the same issue I have with the PlayStation 3, where I think the PlayStation 3 was canned way before it needed to be, because the PlayStation 3 was in its motherfucking stride. The PlayStation 3 didn't really get its shit together until, like, I want to say 3 or 4 years into its generation. And then we got maybe like another 3 or 4 years of stellar content. And then they said, all right, now we're coming out with a new console. And the reason why they'll do that, and the reason why they did is because it's like, well, fuck, I want console sales. And they can't get console sales on a console that's already been out for almost 7 years. So that's why they switched. It's all about the money. And even though the VR did sell well, that's part. You also got to remember, the VR is cheap as fuck now. The VR had a price drop pretty early into it. Let's look. How much can I buy PSVR for right now? That seems like way too much. These are also bundles, though. Are they even selling the PSVR? I feel like I can't find it normally. I think if you buy PSVR, it's still like in the hundreds, it looks like. Although there's a bunch of discontinued bundles for it, interestingly enough. So I don't even know. Okay, that's why I recognize you. I figured I recognized you, Kura Blitz. Generation 7, is that the GameCube, Xbox, PlayStation 2 generation? If so, I can kind of understand that. Yeah, the PlayStation 3 was super expensive. I mean, yeah, it stayed pretty expensive for a while. Like, they didn't drop, the PlayStation 3's price didn't drop for at least, I want to say, a year or two. The 360 dominated partially because it came out a year early. And then people saw the PS3 and felt like it wasn't really worth changing. Now, some people still bought it, but like, that price structure really screwed Sony early on. It was at 200. It sells out so fast. I just don't think I don't think Sony's been making a lot of them. See, if a company is selling well, they are very quick to brag about it. And Sony will do that shit for their consoles. But if it ain't selling well, you barely hear anything about it. And that's what I think the PlayStation... Like, the VR sold as well as you could expect a VR spin-off to sell. But, like, the majority of people who own it don't still use it. Honestly, a lot of that shit needs to be updated anyway. Like, the fact that they were still using the Move controllers that haven't been relevant since, like, what was that? The late 2010s, like 2009, 2010, maybe 2009 and 10. I think it was around the time they came out with the Move. Maybe 2008. I'm not 100% sure. Like, that technology's improved a lot. Like, if they're gonna push VR, they need to like revamp their VR structure anyway. Oh no, the 360 is still, to me personally, the most garbage console that sold. Like, the 360 had no reason to sell as well as it did. But it did because people were stupid and they bought into a brand instead of buying into a quality product. Because the 360 is not a quality product by any fucking means. The Vita, I could argue, is a quality product that has weird and very bad design choices. Actually, I think the Vita's biggest problem wasn't even its design choices. The Vita's biggest problem was that Sony didn't support it. Sony is very much of the idea of like doing some shit for a little bit and then just jumping onto something else. Doing some shit for a little bit and jumping onto something else. And it's worked for them. That's literally what they've been doing since, I want to say, the PlayStation 2 probably. Where the PlayStation 2 was a lot of experimentation and we got a lot of cool series. PlayStation 3 came out and we saw none of that shit. It's almost like the PlayStation 3 killed like the majority of those franchises. It's ridiculous. I don't know if Sony cares to do that. I imagine some like minor upgrades. I don't imagine much to change. I mean, think about it. People want to talk about how we lost a bunch of features going from Wii U to Switch. The same thing happened. The same thing happened with the PlayStation 4. Like, I think we made a joke about it before. You couldn't even save shit to your hard drive. You didn't even get hard drive support for the PS4 until like 2017. The console had been out for like, what, 4 years at that point? Like, so I imagine the same thing will happen again. We'll jump. The Wii was not underrated, sir. The Wii was killing it. The Wii, for the longest time, had a disgusting lead on the PS3 and the 360. It wasn't until the end of the generation when the Wii sales slowed down. Before the race was pretty close. And I think the Wii still won, but it wasn't like by much at all. The Wii was ahead of its time. Yeah, that was the that was the other thing the 360 had on its shit for a little while. The 360 had what I like to call fake exclusives, in the sense that they were exclusive. Well, actually, they were just timed exclusives. At the time, we didn't know that, but they were timed exclusives. So, like, Xbox, I think, made this heavy push towards, like, Japanese titles and trying to curate that fan base. And then, towards the latter end of the 360 lifespan, it just fucking fell off a cliff. Like, around 2010 or so, they lost, I know it was like 2009 actually, it might have been. They lost a bunch of the exclusive rights to a bunch of games. So the PlayStation 3 got a bunch of fucking titles that Xbox had been holding on to as exclusives for years. And then they came out on the PS3, and the PS3 was like, fuck it, here's Uncharted. I mean, think about it. PlayStation put out Last of Us, which for a lot of people is a a generation-defining game, at the last year of the PlayStation 3. Like, Last of Us came out 2013, which is stupid. Came out like the last year. Then you look at Xbox, and the last few years of the Xbox generation, kind of like the Wii generation to a degree, the Xbox just stopped trying. There was like no exclusive content on the Xbox for like at least a year or two. And then the Wii had a bunch of Operation Rainfall games, but was also pretty much dead. I think what PlayStation's thought process is when going into a new console is that they rather switch during the hype than switch during a fall, which is what I think the Wii and the 360 did. The Wii was at the bottom. I mean, even though the last year of the Wii had like Skyward Sword on it, like for the most part, the Wii ended its generation on a low point and jumped into a new point. And then the 360 didn't have an exclusives for like 2 or 3 years, so it was the same thing. Yeah, but Xbox, I feel like exclusive wise, quit on their consoles way quicker. Even the Wii U still had a good chunk of games coming out in 2016. Have I seen the layout design of the 360 the first year? Nah. I mean, I've never owned an Xbox console. The closest I've gotten to owning an Xbox console is my sister, I think, last year. No, the year before last, bought a Xbox One S. And that was like my first time even interacting with the Xbox interface. Which it wasn't bad. I just, I don't really care about the interface if I have no reason to buy your games. Time exclusives don't serve a purpose. I feel like, and to be fair, every company does it. It kind of depends on how it's done. At the time exclusive, if I'm told in advance the time exclusive is a time exclusive. I'm fine with it, although it kind of defeats the purpose of having a time exclusive. It's like what they did with Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider is exclusive to the Xbox for like a year. And then it came out on PlayStation 4. People bought it on that console. The Xbox has been dead for like 2 years, I think. Actually, probably more than 2 years. The Xbox has probably been dead since 20... What was the last quality game that came on the Xbox? Now that I think about it. I guess Cuphead kind of counts. I guess the Cuphead would be the last good game, which was a 2017 game. So yeah, about 2 years. I think the Xbox brand has been dead for 2 years. And it will continue to be dead because Halo, although might be like Halo needs to be a radical shift. If you're gonna bank on Halo in these new studios, you better be throwing out some bangers at the beginning of that new generation. Which, by the way, we still don't know about. I hope, because what it sounds like is you're literally about to go another generation. Another year, Like, we're going to go through the majority of 2020 with, like, another fucking Xbox console with no games on it. Well, Lightning, unfortunately, I blame Microsoft for that bullshit. The online craze was started by them, and they set the standard, and nobody challenged it. PlayStation, I think, had the best balance of the online setup. Where you had a free version and a paid version, and then they realized there's no reason to give you a free version because I can just make you pay, which is what they did. They said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna make you pay," and everybody was so happy that they were like, we don't have any DRM on our console, that they didn't notice the part in the back where they were like, by the way, you have to pay for your online now. Nobody noticed it. So guess what? We have to pay for it. And Nintendo was like, well, fuck it. Nintendo literally had nothing to lose because there was no other company setting a standard that they felt that they needed to compete with. Everybody else had jumped on this paid online bandwagon. And realistically, I know people have their issues with Nintendo's online. Nintendo was at least fair about it. You gave me $20 a year? That's disgusting. I'm not happy about paying for it. But like I said, we were the problem there. During the 360 era, we should have said some. Remember, the 360 used to lock out like apps. Like, you couldn't watch Netflix on the 360 without paying for the online subscription, which is fucking stupid. I don't even think Xbox cares about their consoles anymore. I think Xbox only really cares about the brand. If the brand looks good, they don't care. And that's what it is. The Game Pass, the cross play, the cross saves, the cloud, the Xbox Live, they don't care. They don't care if their console does. I wholeheartedly agree with the notion that next generation will be the last console Xbox generation. If Xbox continues after the next generation, it will not be as a box. It'll be as like a brand name and as a service. Because almost every title that you would have wanted on Xbox's generation are on other systems. Cuphead is on Switch. Ori's on Switch. Sunset Overdrive is on PC. Killer Instinct is on PC. You ain't got Tomb Raider is on PlayStation 4 and PC. You have like no fucking reason to own that console. Yeah, I would blame the gamers. The gamers fell into... Remember, Xbox was like the coolest of the three consoles in that generation. And the PlayStation, Xbox 360, and Wii generation, that was the generation where like Xbox was the cool kids. You were kind of okay if you played PlayStation, and you were a fucking like man-child loser if you played the Wii. That's why the Wii has a bunch of fucking cool games on it that don't get enough love. Which is fucking insane. The Xbox are... No, Xbox never did a portable console. What's up, Laker Link? But it's funny because going back to PlayStation real quick. Yeah, Halo. Well, I don't think the Halo collection is released yet, but it's going to. So that's another one. And I think Halo Infinite will be on PC. Yeah, and the fact that Sony owns Insomniac, I would not be surprised if they were like, here's a port of Sunset Overdrive on the PS4, and just throw that out. But going back to sticking on the Sony topic, I think they just said fuck this year. Like literally, the only other game that's coming out this year is Medieval. Medieval and Death Stranding are their only two exclusives. So I imagine those are the only two games that are going to get any kind of play. I doubt they're going to talk about PlayStation 5 because this seems like the weird time to put it out, especially if it's not coming until next year. It kind of depends on when it's coming. I also don't know if I care about them having a pro version. PlayStation, I have never bought day one anyway, so that's definitely going to be a wait and see console. Would not surprise me if Last of Us 2 becomes a cross-gen game. Ghost of Tsushima becomes a cross-gen game. There's a few titles that I would not be surprised if they just became cross-generation games. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Every console has their slow years. I would say Xbox has the worst of the three. Xbox has an insane, had slow, I would almost argue a slow generation. Like, the last good game was Cuphead, and Cuphead is considered more like an indie title. If we're talking like big budget titles, the last good game, because Sunset Overdrive came out in 2014. Right? Yeah, Sunset Overdrive came out the same year as Bayonetta 2. I believe so. So that was a 2014 game. Yeah. Sunset Overdrive came out 2014. Killer Instinct was pretty early on. Alan Wake. Halo 5. They're just, man, I can't, what was the last, like, and then everything, and it's weird because they've been releasing games. The only ones that have been consistent is probably like Forza. I think Forza is it. Forza and Gears 5. Gears 5 is literally the first game in years that it was a Microsoft exclusive that still does well. Because fucking Halo 5 was like a whisper. People don't even realize Halo 5 was this gen. You know why? It's because Halo 5 came out with a whisper. And it's like, dude, this is sad, yo. That's terrible. And for some reason, Nintendo thought that this was the year to be like, fuck it, we're running away with it. Because Nintendo said, fuck it. Like, dead ass, Nintendo was like, yo, we about to hit you with everything in the kitchen sink. Because literally nobody can stop them in this year. This 2019 is Nintendo's year. Although you could make the argument that 2018 was Sony's year. Because that was Spider-Man and God of War was going to win that year anyway. The only game Nintendo had that was going to put any hit, like any pressure, was going to be Smash, and that came out too late in the year. There were a few other titles, but Smash was going to be that game. So DOA is in such a weird spot right now. I feel like somebody needs to buy that IP. Because they don't know what the fuck they're doing as far as their DLC is going. Part of me wants Nintendo to do it, but Nintendo wouldn't use it. Kind of like how Fatal Frame is with fucking Nintendo right now, which still bothers me. Since Death Stranding is coming to PC, do you think Sony fans won't support it as much if it was an exclusive? No, because the people who care about that kind of stuff is the minority. Like the casual fan base. Like, the PC gamers are the ones who care. And that's all if Death Stranding's even a worthwhile title. Like, it still has to be a worthwhile experience. And we don't even know. No. Lightning, I said 2018. Splatoon 2 and Xenoblade were both 2017 games. Torna was 2018, but not the main game of Xenoblade. But Splatoon and Xenoblade 2 were both 2017. 2018 was Sony's year. 2017 was Nintendo's year. Nintendo's had this is their second year in a row. I actually agree with Black Baron in the sense that, like, when the Game Awards come out this year and you telling me like most of Nintendo's titles better be on there, and if they're not, there's a fucking problem. Like, it's gonna be some real biased bullshit if there isn't a good chunk of Nintendo's titles on this year. Death Stranding. Hell no. Death Stranding barely looks like a fucking game to me. Yeah, Time said you're probably talking about DOA. Yeah, DOA is fucking ridiculous with their DLC. It's so fucking insane. A lot of people think The Last of Us 2 is going to get a release date. And a lot of people are saying it's going to be like 20... I think the rumored date right now is February 2020. Which seems quite insanely quick for a game that, like, we barely... Well, I'm not going to say we barely seen anything of, but, like, has been very off and on for the last few years. Like I said, the Medieval remake bothers me because I'm like, yo, you've only shown this game like once, and that was during the state of play, which I think was earlier this year, and then like nothing else has come out for it. And if they talk about PS5, I don't know how PS5 is gonna do, honestly, because when you were going from PS3 to PS4, Sony had the most momentum going into the PlayStation 4 generation. Nintendo. The last game that came out was Skyward Sword, which is one of the more divisive games in the franchise. Xbox had literally nothing coming out, and PlayStation had just finished out 2013 with fucking The Last of Us, which was like a critically acclaimed game. And then all this talk about DRM for Xbox and Nintendo with their weird powered structure of a console. Because the Wii U had already been out for a year and really hadn't picked up any kind of steam. Sony's success in this generation is primarily due to the fact, and people don't believe me, to the fact that Nintendo and Xbox fucked up their marketing. I think that was like at least a good 30 or 40% of the reason why PlayStation did well this generation. Because Nintendo and Xbox tripped so goddamn hard at the starting line. If we're at a starting line and you got Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo ran first and stumbled right out the gate. Xbox started and Xbox shoes were tied, and Sony just did like a chill jog. It wasn't even like Sony came out the gate running. They were just jogging. And then they started going into the sprint towards the latter half. The Fable series is dead, the way I like to look at it. People would still buy Last of Us 2 whether we get marketing or not. Probably. It's weird that one game has enough pull, but we'll see. Xbox at this point is a sinking ship. The version of Xbox that I think the fan base cares about, that is a sinking ship. It has been sinking for like 2 years. And that is the situation currently. It's not the most preferable situation, but that's the situation. How many PS2 fans went to the 360? Yeah. And so, going into this next generation with PlayStation 5, Sony may not have it that easy. Because Nintendo, at this point, will have had... Let me see. It might be too late for Nintendo and Microsoft to catch up to the next generation because a lot of the people own their games digitally and they'll want their games to transfer to the next console. Backwards compatibility is such a weird concept to me because this is what pissed me off. The Wii and the fucking Wii U both did it and nobody was sweating it like this. Backwards compatibility for some reason went through this weird circular line of thinking where people didn't give a shit, and then all of a sudden during the Xbox push of it is when it became relevant again. That's cool that it's backwards compatibility. I don't think that is nowhere near as a big thing as people like to claim it is. What's going to be a big deal is how each of these companies get into the new generation. Nintendo is in a very profitable position right now because you now have a very good and stable fucking library of games on the Switch. And you let Nintendo run away with a year, which is kind of dangerous considering your console comes out next year. So Sony can regain a foothold real easily. And the easy way to do it is to have that PS5 presentation come out and hit with a bunch of fucking titles. Don't do this dumb shit where you come out you couldn't do what you did with the PS4 on the PlayStation 5. Like the PS4's launch was pretty meh overall. I think the most standout games was Infamous Second Son and maybe Killzone. That's it. That is it. And honestly, especially with this whole thing they have against Japanese titles and the censorship, we're going to see how much of that plays into next generation. Because some, depending on how it goes, it would not surprise me if all of a sudden Sony and Nintendo are getting some of the same titles. Like, some of Sony's claim to fame in Japan was the fact that Sony was like getting a bunch of titles only to Sony because Xbox doesn't matter in Japan, and Nintendo wasn't even doing as well, or like they just didn't want to put the games out on that system. With all this censorship nonsense, Sony has set themselves up to, like, if you don't come out swinging hard, they will get their shit wrecked. And people think I'm playing, but people don't realize like they need to come out on that PlayStation 5 swinging if they want to like sell. Because if Microsoft gets their shit together or Nintendo has another good year, man, you don't understand. And Nintendo's already going to start off 2020 on some high-ass notes, right? Because you got Animal Crossing already will dominate the first half of the year. By default. I want that to be stated. By default, Animal Crossing is going to dominate the first half of next year. Now, granted, you have Cyberpunk and what's the other game? Is it just Cyberpunk? Cyberpunk will make a big dent, but Animal Crossing will keep Nintendo at the very least relevant. Nintendo will maintain relevancy, and then any Smash DLC announcements. Nintendo will maintain relevancies just through those two things, and then you're not even including things like Tokyo Mirage Sessions and Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Like, Nintendo seems to be like, okay, next year we may not be able to hit as hard as we are this year, but we damn sure ain't gonna be out here chilling. And that's the most important thing. What helped, like, think about it. The PlayStation 4 released in 2013. Yeah, the PlayStation 4 released in 2013, and the Xbox One released in 2013. When those two consoles came out, Xbox already had a bunch of, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, but unfortunately, as much as I hate to admit it, Tokyo Mirage Sessions is not going to be a big seller. I imagine it will do well, but it's also not like a brand new game. It will be for a lot of people because they're uncultured and didn't play the original on Wii U. But still, in 2013, like, Xbox had a bunch of shit with the DRM, and Nintendo's heavy-hitting titles was a Mario game that got, like, mixed opinions because it didn't seem like a major jump. A bunch of platforming titles, and then a bunch of drama with the game isn't strong enough. I mean, the console isn't strong enough. So, like, the PS4 had the advantage of coming out on a really bad year for the other two consoles, and it allowed itself to stand tall. Nintendo, all it needs to do is maintain a good level of consistency throughout this year. Of next year, they'll be fine. And Microsoft, I don't know what the fuck Microsoft is going to do. If Microsoft is going to challenge Sony again, you better, because think about it, Halo Infinite, Halo has enough brand recognition that could be a game changer. If Infinite turns out to be a really good fucking title, that could be a game changer. Because obviously we're not going to see another Gears anytime soon. So, like, that's my thought process. Like, Sony's not going to have an easy launch if the Xbox, like, Scarlet comes out the same general time frame and has a better launch than it. And if Nintendo wants to end next year on some God tier shit, which they have the potential to, because we don't know when Breath of the Wild 3 is coming out. We haven't heard anything about Shin Megami Tensei 5. We don't know when Bayonetta 3 is coming out, and we haven't heard anything about Metroid Prime 4, which we probably won't hear nothing about Metroid Prime 4 until maybe E3, and even then that's kind of a stretch. Like, PlayStation's not going to run away with this next year. It all depends on how the other two do. Because it'll prove my point. It'll prove my point that like PlayStation did not have the like the PlayStation 4 generation isn't what I consider an amazing generation. It's an okay generation. In some ways, I argue the PlayStation 3 and 2 had better generations. Actually, I think people agree that PlayStation 3 has a better library than PlayStation 4 does. Because a lot of PlayStation 4 shit is remakes. There are a few titles on PlayStation 4 that I think are really good. I think God of War is overhyped. I think Spider-Man is probably one of their best games. And that came out a year ago. I'm not even concerned with Google at dead ass. Stadia, it's like recently we saw the Apple Arcade stuff. I think this like a few days ago. I'm not concerned about that. Google's gonna have to work their ass off to make their presence known. You can't just be like, we got Google Stadia here. You can buy a controller and subscription, and you're just kind of like, Google, if you want to make a statement, you better be putting out a key. Actually, isn't there a Google keynote coming up? Because they got to announce like the new Pixel. Let's look. I was pretty sure Google had a keynote coming. Or is it next month? Because the Pixel, I know the Pixel is about to be announced. The Pixel 4 is going to be announced soon. Or maybe they haven't talked about it yet. They may not announce the time, but we'll see. Yeah, you're still waiting on Google Fiber. Oh, October 15th. Okay. Horizon was fine. Horizon got overshadowed by Zelda. Not saying it's bad, but it definitely got Horizon. Persona 5, which is niche but did well enough to break into the mainstream mind space. It's still not like, I mean, Persona's still considered a niche franchise. It just has more gamer recognition now than it used to. Horizon was fine. What the fuck came out in 2016? That's the problem. Like a lot of these titles, I don't remember. Sony didn't have like a lot of heavy hitting titles. They had a lot of good third party. You had the Crash and Spyro remakes. What else? Why am I blacking out? And then I can only think of like early PlayStation and then like late PlayStation. I can't think of anything in between. And it's partially because PlayStation didn't have a lot. Wow. See, I never played Persona 4. That's another title I want to get into. I've heard a lot of good things, and to be real with you, I'm not the biggest fan of Persona 5 anyway. So I can't say much on that, but like, what the fuck? Actually, I'm gonna Google it. What the hell has been the PlayStation's biggest games this generation? Because it feels like the biggest games they've had have been in like, oh yeah, Uncharted 4. I forgot about Uncharted. Christ. You know the other problem is that PlayStation, well, Doom isn't exclusive. Doom is a big game, but Doom wasn't exclusive. BlazBlue is not a big franchise, Lightning. Bloodborne, which was early generation, that was like 2014, right? 2014, I think. But yeah, Uncharted 4 was one I completely forgot about. I just want to see what the games list they bring up. Red Dead isn't exclusive. God of War. Bloodborne, Uncharted. Resident Evil wasn't. Days Gone, which kind of came and went. Kingdom Hearts 3, which to me is a disappointing game. The Last Guardian, which I think did okay. You had the Uncharted DLC. I'm just scrolling through Final Fantasy 15. Detroit Become Human, which is kind of a throwaway title in my opinion. They didn't have a lot, not just for PlayStation 4. I haven't played enough of Blast Blue to be like I love it. I mean, it's okay. I enjoy it, but it's nothing like crazy. But like I'm saying, like PlayStation, like this generation for PlayStation is kind of forgettable. Like it took me a while just to remember some of those titles because a lot of them came and went. Then you had the Ratchet and Clank remake, which is another fucking remake. Well, that never say never, Red Dragon. They could easily do like a Detroit Become Human is now multiplat. It wasn't at the time. It was a time exclusive. But Uncharted, they could easily do more of that Lost Legacy shit and like make it into a spinoff. It was a port. It's still a port station. They like people need to stop acting like PlayStation. PlayStation did not run away with this generation because it had such a high quality exclusive games list. It ran with this generation because the other two consoles fucked up. Like that's just facts. Like when you look at the Wii U, and I honestly think the Wii U still has a more game defining list of titles in a lot of ways. Even the Xbox, like the Xbox's major titles was what? Alan Wake. I can't even think. I can think of what is that quick time event game that came out? Was it Rise Summerone? Something. No, what was it? Yeah, it was. It was Rise Son of Rome. Yeah, Alan Wake, Rise, Sunset Overdrive, Halo 5, Recore. Shit. I'm not counting any Crackdown and some bullshit. I can't even think of the fucking zombie game they came out with. What the hell was the State of Decay? Well, isn't shit. A bunch of Forza titles. What else? Killer Instinct. Like this, like a lot of people want to talk like this generation was on some god tier shit. We've had a good, and to be fair, we've had a lot of good chunk of games. A lot of them just weren't exclusives. Like some of the best games this generation were multiplats that finally got their shit together. Left 4 Dead was not even. Left 4 Dead doesn't exist. And then I've heard there's been some issues with Borderlands 3. I mean so we're not talking about Sea of Thieves. Get the fuck out of here. The PSP died. The Vita died this generation. The Vita is fucking dead. Oh yeah, and Gears 5. And there wasn't Gears 4. Gears 4 came out this generation, right? Or am I wrong? Oh no, am I thinking of the remake they did? Is that what it was? They did a remake of Gears? I don't remember. Have you ever heard of the Xbox One version of Killer Instinct? Yeah. I just mentioned it a while ago. What's up, Xavier, by the way? Well, that's partially because fucking PlayStation and Xbox are very like putting out five or what is it? I want to say 5 or so versions of an IP in the same generation. Think about it. Uncharted started and finished within 2 console generations. Like you had the first 3 games on the PS3, and then you had the 4th game and some DLC for it on PlayStation 4. Same thing happened with God of War. God of War is a little bit more split out. God of War, I think it's like the first few main titles are on the PlayStation 2. Then you got one on the PS3 with some spin-offs, I think on the PSP or PS Vita. And then you got the latest one, which is essentially a reboot. You had a new IP start at the end of the PlayStation 3 lifespan. I'm trying to think what else. We haven't seen Sly. Sly's been dead for a while. That died in the PS3 era. Ratchet and Clank is kind of a weird situation. Um, and no, it wasn't that people forgot about Conquer. It was that Microsoft forgot about Conquer. Microsoft threw Conquer in a bunch of random shit and wanted to see what sticks, and nothing stuck. So now it's just in the void. The only reason why Banjo is relevant is because of Nintendo. Because I don't think Microsoft. It almost trips me out. Microsoft should take advantage of this and put out a new Banjo title, or at least do like a remaster of one of the main games. That's not what they're gonna do, because that would be smart, and we're not about that lifestyle. Jak and Daxter died in the play. Actually, Jak and Daxter is another example. Started and died in the same era. Jak and Daxter never even made it to PS3, if I remember correctly. The Little Big Planet. Wasn't there a little... Wait, no, there was a Little Big Planet for PlayStation 4. That's another weird fucking series that exists, but it's dead. It is... Well, I guess I wouldn't say it's dead. It exists. No one just really talks about it like that. Little Big Planet started on the PS3. And how many main games are there? What was it, 3? Yeah, there's 3 of them already. I don't know what family type games for Sony means. I mean, hell, there was a rumor about the PlayStation's Battles Royale, like a sequel to that. I'm very concerned about that existing, because they gotta fix that gameplay, and I don't know if they can make a game that hits that same level of nostalgia and respect for the franchises like Nintendo. It's not impossible, mind you. It just all depends on who's working on it. Also, you got Bandai behind Nintendo. Like, that's some ghosts. Infamous is another weird fucking series. Started on PlayStation 4. Started on PlayStation 3. And then came out at the beginning of PlayStation 4, and we haven't seen or heard nothing from it. Which is weird. We got a bunch of fucking titles that are like that. But see, it wouldn't surprise me if all those IPs are dead. Would not surprise me at all if Sony's like, fuck it, we're starting over again. Because we do that. Remember Twisted Metal? That's dead. What else? Remember Heavenly Sword? How many people remember Heavenly Sword? Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Oh. It hasn't been that long with Gravity Rush. That's why I want to include Gravity Rush. That's the only reason why I'm not including Gravity Rush, is because Gravity Rush is still... Like, the second game... Actually, that came out 2017? Wasn't that Gravity Rush 2 came out 2017, I think? Or was it 2016? There's a bunch of titles. Yeah, Sony is very like, well, you get maybe like 4, maybe 5 titles, and then that's it. Who remembers Ninja Theory? Ah, you savage. But yeah, like, that's what Sony does. And I don't know that's smart. I don't know that's smart at all. But like I said, I just don't think... People think Sony's going to come in here. I don't really care about the Final Fantasy VII Remake until I get the whole game. Oh yeah, well, think about it. Heavenly Sword started and died on the same console. And it only had 1 title. And I think it did okay, sales-wise. It just, new IP, fucking killed it. But I guess we can't say nothing about that until we see if Nintendo allows them to make an ARMS sequel. If the ARMS sequel never comes out, then fine. ARMS would be Nintendo's Heavenly Sword that they never address again. I did not get the Nintendo Switch Lite. I was tempted. And if I had money, I might have said fuck it. I was tempted enough to be like, maybe. Well, Sony had mascots. They just never kept the licenses to them. Like, the mascots they did have, they are now owned by other companies. Even though Crash is still considered a PlayStation mascot, which is why it's kind of funny but jarring that like he's on the Switch and the Xbox. I think Sony didn't give a fuck about the mascot stuff. The mascot stuff in the grand scheme of things isn't that big of a deal. It is kind of jarring. The closest thing to a mascot they still kind of have would be things like Ratchet or Sackboy, or but also because Sony's game design has completely changed. Like they're very more of a Western style developer now, which is a little fucking disappointing because I like my Japanese titles, and that was part of my interest in getting it. It's that like that the Japanese side of Sony is the part I love. There are a few Western games I fuck with, but like most of my love comes from like Japanese titles. Like Batman's a good Rocksteady. All right, we fuck with you. Insomniac, okay. All right, we fuck with you. What's the other one I'm missing? There's a few Western developers I fuck with, but like literally like my thought process has always been leaning towards like my Japanese love, and I feel like Sony has gotten further and further away from that just game design. Like I'm cool with like, well, Kratos I guess could be considered a mascot. Like that's a fair argument to make. Arms with One Piece DLC. I don't think if that happens, bro. If Arms gets One Piece DLC, like if they made a sequel, dude, I would die. I'd be on the floor laughing my ass off, yo. That is like the funniest shit to me. They give Arms One Piece DLC. It only could work with Luffy. Jump Force is a terrible fucking title. Don't ever bring that shit up in here again. It's one of the most beautiful fucking games. It's a garbage ass gameplay. Well, I think everyone remembers Conker's Bad Fur Day. I don't know about Scalar. Scalar, I don't even know what the fuck that is. I mean, I know all that Prince Revolver. Like I've gone over that in videos before. All I'm really saying is that I don't think PlayStation 5 is a runaway success. It's not going to be the same thing. It's not going to be a runaway success like the PS4 was. This PS4 was because of luck. I mean, let's be realistic. I don't think the PS5 is going to have that same luxury, especially if Xbox tries to undercut them. And that all depends on if Phil Spencer wants to be competitive or not. Spoiler alert, he might not give a damn. Actually, he probably doesn't give a damn. But people remember Turok just because didn't that come out on Switch recently? I'm pretty sure Turok just came out like a month ago. If that. Fucking ridiculous. Yeah, I've rambled on for like a little bit over an hour. I'll buy a PS. Yeah, the PS4, the PS5, PlayStation consoles for me have always been like wait and buy later. PS2 I didn't get until later. Actually, I didn't get the PS2 until Kingdom Hearts 2. Yeah, that's when I got it. I got PS2 when I got Kingdom Hearts 2. PS3 I didn't get until 2009 or 2010. And then I didn't get a PlayStation 4 until 2017. And I've only really now been playing it. I'll probably be playing catch up with PS4 titles up until like a good few years into the PlayStation 5. Because that's how I be. G. That's how I be, J. But yeah, I think that's all I really got to say. At this point, we're just kind of going into like this long tier of list of things to talk about. Digimon, yeah, it used to be. All I'm saying, do not be surprised if PlayStation is not on top next gen. That's all I'm going to say. Do not be surprised because Nintendo, depending on the kind of game they're playing in the long run, I don't think Nier's in development. I don't even think Nier is not one of those franchises. Also, I think they have a game with Square they're doing. Like, Platinum has other titles. It's not even just Bayonetta 3. There's that new IP Square talked about that Platinum is working on. They just haven't shown any footage of it. So we'll see. But yeah, I think I'm going to end things here because it's late and I have to go to work tomorrow and I need to go take a shower because my hair is dirty. There's probably lint in it because fuck you, gravity. Yeah, there's a bunch of lint and shit. Right now, Nintendo is for this year. That can easily change. It does not take a lot to change that. But yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you guys for the support. Thank you guys for watching. I almost had 20 consistent viewers. That's crazy. So I appreciate it. I appreciate any super chats and stuff like that. I appreciate all that kind of stuff. It helps out the channel. It helps. It gives me motivation to keep doing this. I'm glad. Oh, right. Surfetch. All right. Real quick. Let's talk about Surfetch, and then I'll get out of here. I forgot about Surfetch. Surfetch is cool. I like its design. It has like the best face. That face is meme worthy, and I think it's been meme to death anyway. Fucking love that shit. I like the fact that it's a fighting type. I feel like that's a cool evolution. I wish it was flying and fighting personally though, and I don't. If it's canonically an evolution, I'd be curious of like what level Farfetch has to be at to evolve. So that's cool. Everyone's leaving, so yeah. We'll talk later. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for support. And as I always say, life's a game, let it win. And thank you for joining me for another Manic episode. Shit, oh no, it was too real. Ah!